All the world's a podcast stage on the Double Stuff podcast, where we're double the hosts, double the topics, and double the fun. I'm Dan.
I'm Charity.
I'm Sarah.
And I'm Alan.
And if you didn't know, today we're talking about theater.
Theater.
I'm looking forward to this. This is going to be a good one.
So you're a fan then of the theater?
Oh, I've always liked theater.
Yeah?
I like
As have I.
performing on stage as well as watching a performance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm all for standing up on stage doing a bit of, I was going to say Hamlet. I've never done Hamlet, but I've always wanted to hold a skull. So
What? Okay.
because Hamlet,
I don't think you have to be on stage to hold a skull.
I mean, it
That's
would help.
called murder.
I mean, it's more socially acceptable if you're on a stage.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah, the
Dan.
police won't come out.
Yeah, that's true.
No, everything is forgivable if you're in
you-
costume.
That's a good murder plot. Kill somebody on stage, they applaud.
I think
That's-
that's been done in like a lot of movies
I
and
think
shows.
so.
So yeah, I like that idea. Or no, I don't like. No.
What?
Maybe we can edit that out. I don't like that idea. Don't murder people. I like the idea for a
Call
story.
the cops.
I like
Is this what you had in
that.
mind when you- This is what you had in mind, Dan, when you wanted to talk about theater.
This is exactly what I had in mind, actually. Absolutely. So, I love doing theater. I mean, I love watching theater, and I really enjoyed doing it in high school, but I didn't continue on after that. Did you guys ever do theater at all?
I did behind the scenes stuff. So like I helped build sets and did audio and lighting and all of that stuff that sort of makes the show work. But I've only done like actual acting, if you want to call it that, very little. Like I did stuff, Sarah would perform or would write stuff for us to perform for like church plays and little school functions, but I haven't done anything like legit, I guess is the better way to say it.
I never had the self-confidence. I mean, I was in football and wrestling, and so I felt like as high school identity politics, I was not supposed to be in theater at all.
The jocks don't go with the
Yeah,
theater.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it took me years and years to have the confidence in myself to be able, I just want to do what I like. And that's when I started going to theater and enjoying theater. And it takes a while. I think we've talked about this before, like especially with like the first time that you go to a theater, it might not resonate. But the more you go, the more that you appreciate the nuance of the acting, of the mise en scene, the set pieces, and just stage direction, and how much, especially if you know what goes on behind the scenes, how much has to happen to make a smooth play. It's pretty incredible.
It really is. I mean, I did a little bit when we first started in high school. I did some the acting side, but I wasn't as big of a fan of that. And then as we moved into it, I actually got the opportunity to do directing, and I enjoyed that a lot. That was my favorite thing.
Being in charge is usually pretty
Oh,
fun.
yeah. It's always fun telling people what to do.
And we were actually able to rope a lot of people in. I mean, when I did the last play that I directed in high school, we got people from like the sports teams, and like everybody kind of wanted to be involved. It seemed like,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so it was a lot of fun.
Like the end of High School Musical, everybody comes in and sings in the gym.
That's right.
I will take your word for it.
I think that's key, though, Dan. I think it's key to have a peer be the director, or at least be in some sort of leadership role in a play, because oftentimes when you have the adult that decides all the creative powers of what the play is going to be about, and then the actors, the players, they have zero connection to it unless they just love theater.
Right.
But trying to, like what you're talking about, getting people from all over to be involved and to really get into their part, it usually, you have to have that sort of peer camaraderie that's kind of built in, because I've been to some terrible plays where obviously the producer or the director absolutely loved it, and they were forcing their school, their church, their whatever organization to put it on because it's a requirement, and there was zero engagement from everybody that was on stage.
And that's how our theater department had started out. I mean, we had a teacher that was like in charge of everything and did all the directing. And then when she stepped down, the next person that kind of took over made it a point to make sure that the students were directing and doing all the stuff with it. So that did make a huge difference, I think. But it was still a lot of fun. I mean, the people that did it, like the people that I did theater with, we all really enjoyed it.
Awesome. What was the last play that you've been to or theater
So
production?
yeah, so when we were in Wichita there last summer, we did the 5 musicals that they do over the summer. So the last one that I went to was In the Heights.
Yes.
That was done there at the Century 2, and it was phenomenal. I mean, it blew all the other ones out of the water. It was so good.
Wow. Because I think
Absolutely.
they also did a Sound of Music too, didn't they?
They did. That was the first
They
one of that
did.
year. They did Sound of Music in Chicago and
Chicago.
Chorus Line,
Mhm.
and I think one or two other, American in Paris. So they were all really well done. Lots of good sets and just really well put together. But that last one was phenomenal.
Okay.
Kind of along those lines, I got the opportunity last year to go behind the scenes. I got to go backstage at Century 2, which when we first moved to Kansas, I had always wanted to see what what the inside of Century 2 looked like, behind the stage. And I got an opportunity to do that with a few other theater people and a few other people in the newspaper journalist group, and we got this really cool tour of where they do all the costuming and the lighting and where they do the rehearsals and all that stuff, and it was just really cool to see behind the scenes stuff. And even though I've done backstage theater stuff anyway, it's always everyone's stage stuff is always different, and so I do enjoy the behind the scenes stuff, but more and more excuse me, more and more within the past maybe 3 or 4 years, I have enjoyed being on stage. I actually like performing. I like the acting. It's fun to do stuff in front of people. And for people that live here in Wichita, and if they don't, there's a show that a lot of the journalists put together every year called Gridiron, and it's basically a comedy variety show that it's like a public affairs variety show. So it's dealing with all the stuff that's gone on in the world and in Wichita over that year.
Where they try to do political comedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's selective humor. I will admit, but I have had the opportunity to actually write some comedy sketches as well as perform them, and so I enjoy being in front of people. Which when we talked about back at the mid of season 2, I think we were talking about the introverted and extroverted thing. And while I do enjoy kind of being to myself, lately I've been enjoying being in front of people. So
Mhm.
yeah, the acting aspect is fun. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you
One of
ever
my
consider like going to community theaters and taking part in some of those plays and things?
I have thought about that actually. I've actually made graphics and programs for the community theater, so I figured if I make the program, I can star in it myself. Right? That's the
Well, she was supposed to do some other stuff, but then COVID happened and it
Yeah.
canceled a bunch of the local,
Yeah.
well, not just local, it canceled
a
everything
bunch of stuff.
worldwide. But yeah, there was
Mhm.
supposed to be some stuff happening at the end of this year that got moved to next year.
Can you think
So-
of like a favorite performance? Let me give you an example. Like one of the, I can't remember the playhouse. It's in North Beach in San Francisco, but there is a little, I guess, kind of off Broadway playhouse, and there was a couple that we had gone to, but one of my favorite performances ever is a play called Beach Blanket Babylon. And
Never heard that.
Never heard of that one.
It
Well,
sounds like Beach Blanket Bingo. Is it like
it's a play on that. It's a
Okay.
lot of fun. It's the thing is the headdresses. So they would wear wigs and hats and headdresses that were huge and would have had lights, had neon and all this stuff. It was a lot of fun.
It's
It was
sound like a fashion show.
I'll say it
Kinda.
sounds like a
no.
Vegas
Yeah,
performance.
it was more cabaret kind of style.
okay,
It was fun though. That was a lot of fun.
That
So
was a
you
lot
were
of fun.
in that?
No, I was
Oh,
not in that. No,
I thought that's what you were leading up to.
No, I really
he was
enjoyed
the
it.
headdress. That's why he was talking about it.
No, but the first play that I was ever in was in a school play for Loman Hill Elementary in Topeka, Kansas, and it was Winnie the Pooh, and I
Aw.
played Eeyore.
Of course
Oh,
you
I can
did.
totally see you playing Eeyore.
And I can-
Oh my
There's
god!
And I
pictures.
can remember my mom just like racking her brain as far as like, how do I make a costume for
So
Eeyore?
cute.
So my costume, as I remember, and I'm sure, hopefully my mom has a picture. I don't know, but it was a it was a gray shirt, and then it was gray cardboard, or not cardboard, but construction paper. that was stapled together to be like my hoofs or whatever. And it was very uncomfortable. I don't even know if those survived. They were durable enough to survive the play. But the one thing that I thought that was so funny, there was a very enthusiastic Tigger that was one of the players, and she had a onesie tiger suit. And because Tigger loves Thistles, they gave her raw spaghetti, and she ate it. And I kept thinking to myself, why?
She committed, man.
She
That's an
totally
actor.
committed to eating Thistles, which was raw spaghetti, in our off Broadway
Way
show
off.
of Winnie the Pooh. And that was
That's
the
awesome.
first time that I was in a play. It might be the last. I don't think
The
that I've
first and
been.
last.
I think it was the first and last time
Are
I
you wanting to
participated.
relive that role? Do you want to dress as Eeyore again and redo
On a
your
new
performance?
Just Us Cookies segment, Alan is going to recreate his Eeyore outfit.
Hey, Pooh. How about you, Dan? What was your first performance?
He was Christopher Robin.
When I was a kid, we had
look more like Thousand Island salad dressing. I don't know. Was that a bad pun? I love Thousand Island.
so silly.
It was terrible, but
It's a dad
it's
joke.
recorded now. So
That's right. So yeah, when
All
I
right,
was younger,
all right.
we had I was in a play called The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, and it was just a little local production over in a town like 20 minutes away. It was so much fun, but I was like super young. I mean, I don't remember like a lot of the specifics of it. I just remember it was cold, it was snowy out, and we had to run around the building in our outfits so that way we could get off the stage and then go to the back of the theater so that we could walk down the aisles for a part of it. So yeah,
oh man,
that was the first one that I was ever in.
It must look funny at the building. Like if someone was watching you from the outside, it's like, how come these kids keep running around the outside of the building?
Absolutely. And my parents have a VHS copy of it, so I know it's still around somewhere.
Ooh.
Yeah.
How do we get
Transfer that,
footage off?
transfer
Yeah.
that.
That's right. I'm going to have to find it.
Yes, flashback.
we're gonna have a segment
Yeah.
called "Embarrassing Home Videos" with the
Yes.
Double Stuff podcast.
Or magnificent moments.
Oh, okay.
That
You're
works
very
too.
confident about your past.
So do you
I'm trying to
prefer...
remember. Oh, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
go
Dan.
ahead, Sarah. What were you saying?
Oh, I was trying to remember what my first performance was. I mean, one that comes to mind, I think I was in first grade, and it was Christmas because you
Oh,
always
your
have.
prayer?
No, that wasn't theater.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry.
That was dinner.
Well, she already said the prayers. Now I have to say it because it's not going to make sense.
Stay over here prophesying. Go ahead.
Okay, so at the school I was at, every time we would have chapel, they would pick somebody to pray before. They pick somebody to pray before chapel started.
And this was your moment?
This has
shine.
nothing to do with theater. So anyway, they called my name to have me go up on stage, and everybody kept doing the same exact prayer. So I'm like, you know what? I'm
Go
gonna
switch it up.
I'm going to do something different. And I thought I was being sincere. It made sense till it came out my mouth, and I realize now. So I
Hey,
did my little
Jesus.
prayer. I did my little prayer, and then I was like,
Well,
help.
say what would they always say?
It was more of like, thank you for this day. Hope we all have a good day. Bless the teachers, and I hope the food tastes good. And be with the rest of the day.
And they were praying for people in the hospitals. I think that's what...
Bless all the people in the hospitals. It was always that line.
Yeah.
And so it was the same.
That's a good line.
It's
important.
a good line. It's a great line.
You
It's
thought
Sarah
it
got
wasn't
tired
enough?
of it. She's like, I'm
She
going to
said,
take out that line.
You know what?
so my prayer was like, help all the people that's dead be alive again.
Sarah's prophesying like end time, like
Whoa.
apocalypse.
I'm like
zombie.
I'm like, forget hospitals. We are gonna raise the
Sarah's
dead.
gonna go to the cemetery and be like, get up.
I command you.
You've been sleeping too long.
That's funny.
That had nothing to do with theater.
No, I thought that's the story you were gonna tell. I jumped the gun. So go ahead and tell your theater story.
That story is probably funnier than the one I was gonna say.
Well, you know what's here's a kind of dovetailing off of not a prayer, but something that's outside of theater that I enjoy too. And we've talked about this in our movies episode previous,
Yeah.
but Wes Anderson is a big fan of theater, and he peppers it into some of his movies.
Yeah.
And so in the Royal Tenenbaums,
Mhm.
they have these cute little plays, and they're always with children because I think his best one was it Moonrise Kingdom, I think, or Moonshine Kingdom.
Moonrise Kingdom's the name of it. Yeah.
It's definitely not Moonshine.
I think it's Moonrise
I think it
Kingdom.
is
It's Moonrise Kingdom. Yeah.
Moonshine.
Yeah.
It makes you drinking at night, singing how dry I am.
But it's always funny how when people when directors or when they're trying to work it into, and this was in like Love Actually and things like that, when directors think of performances and plays, it's always with children. And I think that it's the children's plays that are always just the best, because it doesn't matter if it's good, or sometimes you're silently cheering on the boy that obviously wants to get off the stage, and so he's swinging his costume around, and sometimes the arms fall off or whatever. I love that stuff.
It's always great when they throw up on stage because they're so nervous.
Oh boy.
So something that Alan was talking about made me think of theater and television mixed, is that if you look at earlier TV shows, they look very much like theater on TV. So old shows like The Honeymooners or I Married Joan, it's basically two basic sets throughout the whole program, maybe even one. And then all the actors are talking about outside experiences, and, there's very little props either.
Yeah.
And so it's like with The Honeymooners, when Alice and Ralph are in their kitchen talking, they'll have that scene for like a very long time, and they're just talking and stuff, but the show is still funny,
Right.
because the acting is good. But yeah, early television looked just like theater on TV.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of along those lines. Have anyone, since we talked about our involvement in theater, both behind the scenes and in front, what I used to do at school, because we were part of the media team, we used to record all of the theater plays. So I would be one of the camera
Not me.
people for that. So yeah, I was just saying, that has anyone actually recorded, theater?
No.
Usually those weren't allowed because we couldn't do that at school because of a copyright thing.
Because of the
Well,
copyright.
I don't think it would be for distribution, but I think it might
Like
just
rehearsals or something.
No, we would. I mean, we would record the rehearsals just so we can get practice on the camera shots. But we would actually record one of the. It would usually be the very first performance. So like we've done like the
So if
Mousetrap, or
grandma couldn't make it, you could send her a copy or something.
Yeah, see, I was kind of curious how that worked. I'm assuming
That
they
would
probably
still count as
did.
distribution, though.
Yeah, I guess so. So maybe they did have the rights to it. I know I actually enjoy being a camera op for theater. It is very different than doing it for television, though, because when I do camera, I typically my shots are always close-ups or extreme close-ups, but you really can't do that in theater very much when there's so much movement.
Right.
So, typically even a close-up is still head to toe for the most part.
But that brings up an interesting question. Have you seen Hamilton that Disney released on their Disney Plus app?
I've seen part of it.
Yeah, me and Charity had started to watch it. But
And they do a lot of camera moves. I mean, they do a lot of close-ups and everything like that.
Well, and I think for shows like that and like PBS and do their great performances and stuff, I think, at least based on what I've seen in the past, is that they have people for all the performances. They record all the performances, and then they splice it all together to make one
So you
giant
get the best
one.
of
That's
You get the
everything.
best. So it's almost like how people shoot music videos.
Yeah.
It's kind of that way. So that's how you're able to get really close ups, because okay, he's going to say that line in this song, and you already know it.
Yeah.
So,
But you don't have to record every performance to know that. That's why you do all the blocking and stuff before.
I do it for comedy specials too.
Because I've done
'Cause
tons
you'll
of
do-
live shows, and that's why you do all that practice beforehand.
And from what I understand, that Hamilton recording was actually one of the final performances from the original cast that
That's
they ended
right.
up recording.
I did hear that.
and that makes sense, because they definitely had their stuff down pat. Not only the actors and performers and stuff, but I'm sure the media crew to some extent, because we had to watch all the plays, so we know when certain cues are going to happen and stuff. So I'm assuming it was probably done that way, maybe just based off of behind the scenes stuff I've done, and then just based off videos I've seen. So I'm assuming they probably did that, knowing full well it was going to be the final one, which makes it extra special.
Absolutely. And I hope that they continue to do that with a lot of plays, because while I like the theater a lot, it's very out of the range of people being able to go see. I mean, if you wanted to see a Broadway play, you might not see it for years, and then you might not ever get to see it with the original cast because of how expensive it is. So I like having that opportunity of being able to show it, even if it's further down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since you brought that up, have any of you ever been on Broadway or seen like a legit Broadway production?
No.
I've seen one.
You had what did you see?
I saw the Book of Mormon.
Oh yeah.
I heard that's really funny. I've yet to see or any kind of rendition of it, but I heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, and it's really, I mean, just well done. It's theater. That's the funny thing about it, is that we did go see it on Broadway, but it was, it felt like just like we go see it here at Century 2,
Right.
you get the playbill and everything like that, but it was still the same experience, which was really kind of neat about it.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool to get that vibe from the audience, especially with a comedy, because if the audience laughs, it kind of helps you perform better. So at least based on the stuff I've done, the vibe from the audience when they're really engaged in it, that makes you want to act a whole lot better.
Well, from as all of us are producers, I mean that's what you're looking for too.
Yeah.
Like when my daughters watch, what's Ariana Grande's show? It was Sam and Cat. Was that their big one? I can't remember. But anyway, with all the canned laughter, I'm like, this is not good television, guys.
This canned laughter and forced acting.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Which is another reason why
Don't manipulate the audience as to when to laugh.
It's also the demographic, though, because you're not in that group.
Oh,
anymore.
I've never chastised. I haven't. Guys, you sit down right now because Dad's going to explain something. What you're hearing is not real, and you're being manipulated to laugh.
Even when I was watching shows that was geared for my age, I didn't think it was funny.
Yeah,
because it did seem forced.
You didn't connect to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
They push it out. It's like, this is a joke. You laugh.
Oh,
and then
gotcha.
ha 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 ha.
Okay, but I remember you did watch the Amanda Show. We're going a little further back here for any younger people that are listening in the
That's
audience.
true.
But
I
I
like
the Amanda
Clarissa.
Show and all that.
Wait,
I did.
Those
I
two
actually
shows you laughed
did
at.
watch that show. At the time, we used to watch this at a person's house we used to go to a lot, and that's what everybody watched, so I did watch it.
Mhm.
The only part that was funny was her
Boy
little
Meets
segment
World.
with the Ask Ashley, but I would watch it. I guess I'm still like this, maybe more so as a kid. I always wondered what people thought was funny, so I would watch it, and I heard people laugh, and I saw the people around me laugh.
That's it. That's how they manipulate you. Because if you can get one person to laugh,
Yeah.
it starts a giggle fest.
That was part of the reason why in the comedy episode I had this thing like, do I have a sense of humor? Why do I not think things are funny?
Yeah.
Or certain things that I think are funny.
Well, that's why on a live comedy show, you've got the warm up to kind of get people
Yep.
already
People into
on
it.
board
Yep.
with laughing.
Uh-huh.
And that way the main headliner doesn't have to start off cold.
In a cold room. Yeah.
Yeah.
And one way you can really tell if you find something really funny is when you're watching something by yourself and you end up laughing
Yeah.
out loud.
Yeah.
But see, I am easy to humor. That's why I was like, I wonder why certain things were funny because, yeah, and Charity can attest that I'm often in my room laughing very loudly.
Loud. Like, I can hear her separately, door shut and everything. And you just hear this faint, like,
Rise all you did.
Sarah's laughing is adding life to these weary bones.
Well, I would definitely be curious to see what some of our listeners, what kind of plays or performances some of our listeners either remember or have been a part of. So if you want to, go ahead and share those with us on our Twitter or our Facebook pages. And then for now, we'll go ahead and call this one a wrap.
Yep, let's draw the curtain on it.
Thanks for listening. You can find other episodes on doublestuffpod.com or your favorite podcast app. You can also join in the fun on social media on Facebook and Instagram at Double Stuff Podcast and on Twitter at DoubleStuffP, as in the letter P.